Hold on. Before you book that dream cruise for 2026, you need to hear this. Cruising is changing, and it's not all good news. We're talking new fees that could blindside you with an extra $300 to $500 on top of what you already paid. Hidden charges in the dining room. Drink packages that suddenly don't work where you need them most. And policies that lock your money in with zero chance of getting it back. If you're planning to sail this year, this video could save you hundreds of dollars and a whole lot of frustration. Let's break down every major rule change, fee hike, and sneaky policy update you absolutely need to know before you hand over your credit card. Section 1. The main dining room isn't free anymore. Let's start with something that's going to shock a lot of people. For decades, one of the biggest perks of cruising was simple. Your meals were included. You could walk into the main dining room, order an appetizer, a salad, an entree, maybe 2 entrees if you were hungry, and dessert, all at no extra cost. That sense of abundance and freedom was part of the cruise experience. Well, Norwegian Cruise Line just changed that game. Starting in 2026, if you want a second entree in the main dining room, it's going to cost you $5. That's right, an extra entree fee. Now, $5 might not sound like a lot, but think about it over the course of a 7-night cruise. If you and your partner both want to try an extra dish a couple of times during the week, you're suddenly looking at an additional $40 to $50. And that's just for one couple. Here's why this matters. It's not really about the $5. It's about the precedent. Once one cruise line starts charging for something that used to be free, others tend to follow. We've seen it with bottled water, with room service, with specialty coffees. What starts as a small upcharge on one line can become an industry standard within a year or two. Norwegian says this is to reduce food waste and encourage thoughtful ordering. And sure, that sounds reasonable on the surface. But longtime cruisers know what this really is. It's another revenue stream. Another way to nickel and dime passengers who thought they were paying for an all-inclusive vacation. So if you're sailing NCL in 2026, plan accordingly. Order what you really want the first time. Share dishes with your travel companions. And if you do want to try multiple entrees, just know that it's going to cost you. Section 2. Your deposit is no longer refundable. Now let's talk about deposits, because this is a big one, and it's going to catch a lot of people off guard. For years, most cruise lines offered a choice. You could pay a lower deposit and have it be refundable up until final payment, or you could pay a slightly higher deposit and get a small perk in return. It gave you flexibility. Life happens. Maybe your job situation changes, maybe a family emergency comes up, and having that refundable deposit meant you weren't locked in months before your cruise. But Princess Cruises, along with a few other lines, has quietly shifted to making non-refundable deposits the default. That means when you put down that initial payment, often $250 to $500 per person, it's gone. Even if you cancel 2 months before the cruise, you're not getting that money back. You might get future cruise credit, but that's it. Your cash is locked in. And here's the kicker. This policy is spreading. Carnival has experimented with it on certain itineraries. Royal Caribbean has similar restrictions on promotional fares. Even some of the premium and luxury lines are tightening their cancellation policies. Why does this matter so much? Because it removes your safety net. Booking a cruise used to be a low-risk decision. You'd put down a small deposit, and if something came up, you could cancel and get your money back. Now, you're essentially committing to that cruise the moment you book, or at least committing your deposit. Our advice? Read the fine print before you book. If you're even slightly uncertain about your travel dates, consider paying extra for travel insurance that includes cancel for any reason coverage. Yes, it costs more upfront, but it could save you hundreds if plans change. And if you're booking directly with the cruise line, ask specifically whether your deposit is refundable. Don't assume anything. This shift is a big deal, and it's one of the most significant policy changes we've seen in years. It's making cruise bookings feel a lot less flexible, and a lot more like a gamble. Section 3. Your drink package doesn't work everywhere. Alright, let's talk about drink packages, because this is where things get really frustrating. You probably know that most major cruise lines offer beverage packages. You pay a flat daily rate, and in exchange, you get unlimited drinks, cocktails, beer, wine, sodas, specialty coffees, whatever's covered under your tier. For a lot of people, especially those who enjoy a few drinks throughout the day, these packages are a great value. You pay once, and you don't have to think about it for the rest of the cruise. But here's what's changing in 2026. Your drink package no longer works everywhere. Norwegian Cruise Line, for example, has confirmed that beverage packages will not be honored on their private island, Great Stirrup Cay. That means when you step off the ship onto what's technically still part of your cruise experience, your unlimited drinks? Not unlimited anymore. You'll be paying out of pocket for every beer, every cocktail, every soda. And those prices aren't cheap. We're talking $8 to $12 for a mixed drink on the beach. Royal Caribbean has similar restrictions on Perfect Day at Coco Cay for certain package tiers. MSC has limitations on their private island stops. Even some cruise lines are restricting drink packages at their exclusive beach clubs and resort-style port experiences. Now you might be thinking, okay, it's just one day. I can deal with that. And sure, if you're on a 7-day cruise, losing access to your drink package for one port day isn't the end of the world. But here's the problem. You're still paying for that day. Your beverage package is charged per day for the entire cruise, including port days. So you're essentially paying full price for a benefit you can't fully use. And let's be honest, private island days are when people drink the most. You're relaxing on the beach. You're in vacation mode. You're not worrying about driving or schedules. It's the perfect time to enjoy a few drinks. And now, cruise lines are capitalizing on that by carving out exceptions to the packages you already paid for. What can you do? First, check the terms of your drink package before you buy. Look specifically for exclusions related to private islands, beach clubs, or off-ship venues. Second, budget for those extra costs. If you know you're going to want a few drinks on that private island day, set aside an extra $50 to $75 in your cruise budget. Third, consider whether the drink package is even worth it given these new restrictions. Run the numbers based on your actual drinking habits and the itinerary you're sailing. This is one of those changes that feels like a bait and switch. You think you're buying unlimited drinks for your entire cruise, but the fine print tells a different story. Section 4. Room service isn't free anymore, and there are limits. Let's move on to room service, because this is another area where the included experience is disappearing fast. There was a time when room service on a cruise was a true luxury that came with your fare. You could order breakfast in bed, have a late-night snack delivered, grab a sandwich between excursions, all at no extra charge, aside from maybe a small gratuity. It was one of those little perks that made cruising feel special. Those days are over. In 2026, most major cruise lines are charging for room service, and the fees are getting higher. Royal Caribbean charges $7.95 per order, except for continental breakfast. Carnival has a similar fee structure. Norwegian charges for most items. Even Princess, which used to pride itself on included room service, has added delivery fees on many menu items. But it's not just about the fees. Cruise lines are also putting limits on what you can order and how often. Some lines now restrict room service to certain hours. Others have removed hot entrees from the in-room menu entirely, leaving only continental breakfast and cold items. A few have introduced minimum order requirements or cut off room service access if you use it too frequently during your cruise. Why the change? Officially, it's about managing labor costs and reducing food waste. Realistically, it's about revenue. Room service was a loss leader for cruise lines, something they offered for free to enhance the guest experience. But as profit margins tighten and companies look for new income sources, these little extras are getting monetized. Here's what you need to know before you sail. If you're someone who loves having breakfast on your balcony or ordering a late-night pizza, factor those costs into your budget. $7.95 per order might not sound like much, but if you order room service 4 or 5 times during a week-long cruise, you're adding another $30 to $40 to your bill. And if you're traveling with kids who want snacks delivered, those fees add up even faster. Also, check your cruise line's specific policy before you book. Some lines still include continental breakfast for free. Others waive the delivery fee if you're in a suite or have elite status in their loyalty program. Knowing the rules ahead of time means no surprises when you get that bill at the end of your cruise. Section 5. New environmental fees are hitting your bill. Okay, now we need to talk about environmental fees, because this is a brand new charge that's popping up across the industry, and a lot of cruisers have no idea it's coming. In 2026, several cruise lines are adding daily environmental or green fees to every passenger's account. These fees typically range from $4 to $8 per person per day. On a 7-day cruise for 2 people, that's an extra $56 to over $100 added to your final bill. What are these fees for? Officially, they're meant to offset the cost of environmental initiatives, things like cleaner fuel, waste management systems, shore power connections in port, and emissions reduction technology. And to be fair, these are real investments that cruise lines are making, especially as regulations around marine pollution and carbon emissions get stricter. But here's the thing, these fees aren't optional. They're automatically added to your booking, often buried in the fine print alongside port fees and taxes. You don't get to opt out. You don't get a detailed breakdown of where that money is going. It's just another line item on your invoice that inflates the total cost of your cruise. And let's be clear, cruise lines aren't operating as nonprofits here. Yes, they're spending money on environmental upgrades, but those upgrades are also required by law in many regions. So in a sense, passengers are being asked to subsidize the cost of regulatory compliance that the cruise lines would have to pay for anyway. What can you do about it? Not much, honestly. These fees are part of your cruise fare, just like port taxes. But you can factor them into your decision-making. When you're comparing cruise prices, don't just look at the base fare. Look at the total cost after fees, taxes, gratuities, and these new environmental charges. That $700 cruise might actually be closer to $900 once everything is added in. And if you're passionate about environmental issues, do your homework. Some cruise lines are genuinely leading the way with sustainability initiatives, investing in LNG-powered ships, eliminating single-use plastics, supporting marine conservation projects. Others are doing the bare minimum and charging you for it. Choose the lines that are actually walking the walk. Section 6. Port fees and restrictions are skyrocketing. Let's talk about ports, because this is where some of the biggest and most frustrating changes are happening in 2026. First up, Mexico. If you're sailing to popular ports like Cozumel, Puerto Vallarta, Cabo, or Ensenada, be prepared for significantly higher port fees. We're talking increases of up to $10 per person, per port. That might not sound like a deal breaker, but when you're cruising with a family of 4 and visiting 3 Mexican ports, that's an extra $120 right there. Why the increase? The Mexican government has implemented new tourism and environmental taxes aimed at managing over-tourism and funding infrastructure improvements. It's not just cruise passengers. Land-based tourists are seeing higher fees too. But for cruisers, it's a noticeable jump in costs that wasn't there a year or two ago. Then there's Europe, and this is where it gets really complicated. Popular ports like Venice, Santorini, Dubrovnik, and Barcelona are implementing strict limits on how many cruise ships can dock and how many passengers can disembark per day. Some ports are banning large ships altogether. Others are requiring advance reservations or charging premium fees for peak season access. Venice, for example, has banned large cruise ships from entering the city center entirely. Ships now dock at a more distant industrial port, which means longer transfer times and a less convenient experience. Santorini is capping daily cruise passenger numbers at 8,000, which sounds like a lot, but during peak season, that limit gets hit fast, and some ships are being turned away or forced to skip the port altogether. What does this mean for you? It means your itinerary might change, sometimes with little notice. That dream Mediterranean cruise that promised a stop in Santorini? You might end up skipping it if your ship doesn't secure a docking slot. Or you might have to book a shore excursion through the cruise line just to guarantee you can get off the ship, because independent exploration might be restricted. Our advice: if you're booking a cruise to Europe or Mexico in 2026, read the itinerary fine print carefully. Look for language like port subject to change or docking availability dependent on local regulations. Consider purchasing travel insurance that covers itinerary changes. And if there's a specific port you absolutely don't want to miss, book early and choose itineraries with backup ports built in. Port restrictions and fee increases are only going to get more common as destinations try to balance tourism revenue with local quality of life. It's a trend that's reshaping cruise travel, and 2026 is the year it's really starting to bite. Section 7. Luggage rules are getting stricter. Now let's talk about luggage, because this is an area where cruise lines are cracking down hard, and if you're not paying attention, you could face delays, fees, or even have items confiscated. The biggest change? Lithium batteries. You know those portable chargers, e-cigarettes, vape pens, battery-powered fans, and rechargeable devices you've been bringing on cruises for years? In 2026, cruise lines are enforcing much stricter rules about how many you can bring and where you can pack them. Most lines now require that all lithium battery devices be packed in your carry-on luggage, not your checked bags. Some lines are limiting the number of spare batteries you can bring, usually no more than 2 or 3 per person. And certain high-capacity power banks are being banned outright due to fire risk. Why the crackdown? Because lithium batteries are a legitimate fire hazard, especially when damaged or improperly stored. There have been incidents on ships where battery fires caused evacuations and safety scares. Cruise lines are taking this seriously, and so should you. But here's where it gets frustrating. Enforcement is inconsistent. On some sailings, security will flag a single spare battery in your checked luggage and make you retrieve it. On others, they'll confiscate it entirely. And if you show up at embarkation with a dozen power banks because you're traveling with a group, you might be told to throw some away before you can board. Beyond batteries, cruise lines are also tightening up on other restricted items. Surge protectors and extension cords with surge protection are now banned on many ships due to fire codes. Irons and steamers also banned. Certain types of sporting equipment, drones, hoverboards, all restricted or prohibited. And then, there's the inspection process itself. In 2026, cruise lines are using more advanced scanning technology and conducting more thorough bag checks. That means longer wait times at embarkation and a higher chance of having your bags flagged for manual inspection. So what should you do? First, check your cruise line's prohibited items list before you pack. Don't rely on what was allowed last time you cruised. Rules change fast. Second, pack all lithium battery devices and spare batteries in your carry-on. Don't risk having them confiscated from your checked luggage. Third, bring only what you actually need. Those 5 power banks? You probably don't need all of them. Pare down. And here's a pro tip. If you're bringing anything even slightly questionable, a small travel steamer, a multi-plug adapter, a battery-powered cooler, pack it in a way that's easy to access and show to security. The faster you can demonstrate that your item is allowed, the quicker you'll get through embarkation. Luggage rules might seem like a minor inconvenience, but they're a major source of stress and delays at the pier. Don't let a forgotten power bank in your check bag ruin the start of your vacation. Section 8. How to avoid surprises and save money. Alright, we've covered a lot of bad news. Now let's talk solutions, because there are absolutely ways to navigate these changes, avoid surprises, and still have an amazing cruise in 2026 without breaking the bank. First, read the fine print. I know it's boring. But before you book, take 10 minutes to go through the cruise line's policies. Look specifically at deposit terms, cancellation policies, what's included in your fare, and any new fees. Cruise line websites have a Terms and Conditions section for a reason. Use it. And if something isn't clear, call the cruise line directly or ask your travel agent. It's better to know now than to get hit with a surprise charge later. Second, book with a travel agent who specializes in cruises. A good agent will know about these policy changes, warn you ahead of time, and help you find sailings that minimize the impact. They can also advocate for you if something goes wrong, if your itinerary changes, if you get charged incorrectly, if there's a dispute. And here's the best part. Using a travel agent doesn't cost you extra. They get paid by the cruise line, not by you. So you're getting expert advice and support at no additional cost. Third, budget for the real cost of your cruise. Don't just look at the advertised fare. Add up port fees, taxes, gratuities, drink packages, specialty dining, excursions, environmental fees, room service charges, everything. A realistic budget means you won't be shocked when you see your final bill. And it helps you make better decisions about where to splurge and where to save. Fourth, consider travel insurance. We mentioned this earlier, but it's worth repeating. A good travel insurance policy with cancel for any reason coverage can protect you if plans change, if a port gets canceled, or if you have a medical emergency before your cruise. Yes, it adds to the upfront cost, usually around 5 to 8% of your total trip cost, but it's a safety net that can save you thousands. Fifth, be strategic about your bookings. If drink packages don't work on private islands, maybe skip the package and pay as you go. If room service fees are adding up, plan to grab breakfast in the buffet instead. If you're cruising to Europe and worried about port restrictions, book shoulder season sailings when limits are less likely to be maxed out. Small adjustments can add up to big savings. Sixth, stay flexible. This is maybe the most important tip of all. Cruising in 2026 is going to require a bit more adaptability than it used to. Itineraries might change. Policies might shift. Fees might pop up. If you can roll with the punches and not let the little stuff ruin your vacation, you're going to have a much better time. And finally, remember why you're cruising in the first place. Yes, there are new rules. Yes, there are new fees. But cruising is still one of the most convenient, fun, and value-packed ways to travel. You're getting accommodations, transportation, meals, entertainment, and multiple destinations all in one package. No other vacation style offers that. So keep perspective, plan smart, and focus on the experience. Conclusion and call to action. So there you have it, the 7 biggest cruise rule changes and fee increases you need to know about before booking in 2026. From extra charges in the dining room to non-refundable deposits, drink package restrictions, room service fees, environmental charges, skyrocketing port costs, and stricter luggage rules, there's a lot to keep track of. But here's the bottom line: knowledge is power. Now that you know what's coming, you can plan accordingly. You can budget smarter. You can avoid surprises. And you can still have an incredible cruise vacation without getting nickel and dimed at every turn. If this video helped you, do me a favor, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We're covering everything you need to know about cruising in 2026, from ship reviews to money-saving tips to port guides. And drop a comment below. Which of these changes surprised you the most? Are you still planning to cruise this year, or are these new rules making you rethink it? I read every comment, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Now go book that cruise. Just make sure you know what you're getting into first. Safe travels. Subscribe for more cruise tips. / Watch next. Best Cruise Lines 2026 rank. /